is the last study in this fall quarterly, and the entire quarter's focus has been on what?
Miracles of Jesus.
Miracles of Jesus. But I say, y'all don't get quiet now. So we know what a miracle is, right? Yes, something beyond natural or scientific explanation. But why? Why are miracles performed? We've talked about it.
Performed to establish the fact that he was Jesus Christ.
Yes, and for proof, yes. And we're going to see it actually, I think, in two verses. I think we're going to see it lined out this morning. Ultimately, the reason why...
And for television purposes.
And for TV purposes? No, we're not seeing that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. That seems what they're used for today, doesn't it? So people can call in, and if you'll just donate, then this will happen to you. And we've talked about that.
Lay your hand on the TV screen.
Yeah, just put your hand on the TV screen. Something no good will happen.
There's a picture on Facebook where the mother walked out and the one little brother had his hand on the other little brother. They were doing the Oral Roberts healing kind of thing. So it's...
I have seen things like, I came across something that was on it must not have been that miraculous. It was called Miraculous Healing Water, and it was in a little plastic thing, like you get a popsicle out of the freezer, but it was, and it was just on the ground, laying somewhere, and I pick it up and I read it, and I'm like, what the? My eyebrow went up, and I'm like, it must not have been that miraculous. Yes, sir. And that's what it was from. It was like, call in and you'll receive, and they send that stuff out.
Yeah.
There's a place out on 82, right before you get to the Alabama, now Highway 50, right before you get to the Alabama line.
Mm.
You can go out there and buy that miracle water.
Oh.
And I just read the sign when I worked for the bakery. I used to go through there 3 or 4 times a week, and they had there was some soothsayer out there.
Oh, yeah.
You could stop and buy the miracle water and everything.
Have mercy. And we're gonna, if we have time at the very end, we'll get into the whole follow the money thing at the very end of this. It's off topic, but ultimately the reason why miracles are performed is so people would believe, yes, and to know the power of God. So the last study then this morning is Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. This account is only here in the book of John. So we're in John chapter 11 this morning. So that's the only place this account is. John 11, we're going to start at verse 1, actually. We tried to just do the whole chapter. The book of John was penned by John around AD 85 to AD 90. And John was the brother of who?
James.
They were known as what?
Son of thunder.
And their father was who?
Zebedee.
Zebedee. They were the sons of Zebedee, sons of thunder, brother of James. So, would somebody read John chapter 11, verses 1 and 2, please?
Now a certain man was sick, named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and with his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick.
Thank you. So, verse 1, it says Mary and Martha. So, do we know, have we seen Mary and Martha before? Yes. And the writer reminds us of that in the next verse. We've seen them actually several times. We'll get into that, but we saw them in Luke 10, verses 38 and following. And verse 2, it says, it is that Mary, so yes, that same Mary, who anointed the Lord with fragrant oil and wiped his feet with her hair. It was their brother. So, since we've seen them before, the question is, did Jesus know Mary and Martha? Yes. Did they know him? Meaning, did they already believe in him?
Yes.
Yes. What type of relationship How close were they?
They were friends.
They were very, very close. They likely spent the night in their houses and that type of thing, ate off their tables. Verse 3, therefore the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. Therefore, that's what the verse starts out. With all that in mind, knowing this relationship, therefore, the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love. I don't know why I can't say that this morning. They didn't even say his name. They just described him. What does that mean? Jesus knew anyway, right? But just by the description, sometimes somebody can just give a description and you know that's how well Jesus knew him. But he knew anyway. So, like I said, doubtless Jesus knew of Lazarus' sickness, and the sisters. Did the sisters know that Jesus knew? They may have or may not. I don't know. We don't know that.
I also like how it's phrased that they sent to him and didn't send for him.
Yeah.
Because he could send for Jesus.
True.
I think another thing too, they sent to him, see, he knew who they were. And that made a distinction to me. If you and I are real good friends and I'm somewhere out of town, they say, wow, well, you know, Heather's husband, whom you love, is sick. They say, I know right who you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's what I'm trying to get out. It shows the level of honor and respect and care there was between these people. That's what we're getting at. Yes. Would someone read verses 4 and 5, please?
When Jesus heard that, he said, this sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus.
Thank you. Had Jesus healed people that were sick before? Yes. Rattle, rattle. And what is the reason for a miracle? What did we say? What's the last part of verse 4? That the Son of God may be glorified through it. That's another way of saying there's a miracle coming. That's what Jesus meant, but as we're going to see, it's not the miracle that the people were expecting. Verse 6, so when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. Then after this he said to the disciples, let us go to Judea again. A thought. Could Jesus have healed Lazarus when Jesus was here and Lazarus was over there? They were, apparently about 14 miles away, by count. Jesus did that in our study last week. He's like, she's healed. And she was somewhere else. Then after this, he said to the disciples, let us go to Judea again. What's Judea? What's in Judea? Who's in Judea? People that are out to get Jesus. And the disciples too. That must have sounded crazy to the apostles. Because verse 8, the disciples said to him, what? Somebody read that. Somebody read verse 8.
Rabbi, lately the Jews sought to stone you, and are you going there again?
What does rabbi mean?
Teacher.
Teacher.
Master, teacher, leader, boss. The person who's in charge of us and we look to. Are you sure? So again, did they question the boss, you know? They sought to stone you, and you want to go there again. Bethany was about 2 miles away from Jerusalem. It was next door. It was close. 2 miles is a long way on foot, but it's still fairly close. Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if one walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him." What does the light represent? Is he talking about actual daytime, nighttime?
The word of the truth, the word of him.
The word, the truth, him. Therefore, darkness is what? Anything other than that. These things he said, and after that he said to them, "Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may wake him up." That's an expression we use lots after people have passed away. They're what? Verse 12, then his disciples said, "Lord, if he sleeps, he'll get well." What does that sound like?
They didn't know he was dead.
Very much that. That's what I thought. They don't understand him, because we're going to get to that in the next verse. They don't understand that what Jesus says he's sleeping means he's dead. I really think that means they're like, he's going to get better if he's asleep. He'll get better. Let's just stay. Let's go the other way. They don't want to go back. Why do they want to go now?
He's all good now. We don't have to go.
They're still trying to teach the teacher, right? Maybe they're trying to pull him one way or another. That's my opinion on it.
I think
But
they were talking more physical, and he was talking more metaphorical.
oh, most definitely. I believe there's lots of layers here, but yeah, that's most certainly. However, Jesus spoke of what? His death, Lazarus' death. But they thought that he was speaking about taking rest in sleep. So yes, they didn't understand. They weren't on the same level as Jesus, of course. Verse 14, then Jesus said to them plainly, what? He's dead. What are they going to answer to that after they just said, he's going to get better if he's sleeping? What are they going to answer to that? Not much. And I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there. Why? What's the purpose of a miracle? That you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go to him. Would someone read verse 16 and tell me what your opinion on that verse is, or how you take it?
Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, let us also go that we may die with him. He thinks if they go back there, the Jews are going to kill him.
Yep. I don't know how to read or to take this. I mean, and it's a subtle difference, and it's neither here nor there. I'm not sure if it's faith, that they're like, he's going, wherever he goes, we're going, and if he dies, we die with him. That whole, to whom else shall we go? Yes. The whole, is it the faith? Is it to whom else shall we go? Or is it defeatist? You know what I mean? Or maybe even sarcastic. I don't know which one. It's Thomas, after all, who gets a bad rap for doubting Thomas. I don't think it's defeatist. I think it shows the faith. That's what I believe. Verses 17, starting in our text. So when Jesus came, he found that he, that was Lazarus, had already been in the tomb 4 days. Not F-O-R, F-O-U-R. The number 4. In the tomb. In the desert. Probably hot. Probably. He was probably not embalmed. He was probably what? They just cleaned him and wrapped him in burial clothes, right? Practically speaking, what does that mean? He's getting gross to decay. Yes. 4 days. Did Jesus know this? Yes. Did he know this beforehand? Did he know this forever ago? Yes. Would someone read verses 18, 19, and 20, please?
Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs Mary sat still in the house.
Thank you. Now, Bethany was near Jerusalem. That's what we said. The apostles didn't want to go, but simply because of the proximity, how close it was to Jerusalem. About, 15, okay, so it's about 2 miles is what that means. And many of the Jews had joined the women around Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Why is that worth noting? Why is that important? That it brought up that there's lots of Jews here.
Makes an audience.
It's an audience. It's also people that were initially trying to stone him.
Yep. And some of them were, not all the Jews, but maybe, it just depended on where they were, I suppose. Yes, both of those things. Now there's audience. There's multiple people there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the main thing. It's the normal thing what happens now when you see a funeral or
Yes.
someone that died. People care about them, come to try to comfort them or whatever.
And I think that's what Jesus wanted, because if he had went when he was sick, it wouldn't probably been as many people as when they died. More people come when a person died
Yes.
when they're sick.
Now Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been there, my brother what? And why don't you say that?
She knew what he could do.
We talked about that. She knew, she believed, and what had they not already seen that from Jesus? They knew what he could do, but he's dead now. I mean, you can't bring somebody back to life. So she felt that, and she expected it was going to happen, that Jesus could have healed his sickness. 22, but even now I know, even now, so but even now, so however, even now, even though Lazarus is dead, that's her brother, and she's guilt-stricken, even in all of that, she knew that whatever you ask of God, God will give it to you. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Verse 23, your brother will rise again. She heard that maybe with grieving ears. Right? Like something that somebody hears when they've lost someone and people come up to you at a funeral. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again at the resurrection day, at the last day. She had that knowledge and faith, but still the words of Jesus in verse 23, like I said, may have seemed or sounded like words of comfort in the time of loss. Verse 25, would someone read?
Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live.
Thank you. And 26, and whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? The words are interesting at the end of 25. Though he may die, he what? He shall live. So physical death, that's the first one. You might experience physical death, but what? Eternal life is what? It's guaranteed. So you may experience physical. So physical death in this world to us is like this. That's it, right? That's the highest thing. Look how the pedestal just got for physical death got put way, way down, and eternal life got put way, way higher. So once again, by comparison, physical death is nothing compared to the guarantee of eternal life. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? Oh, stop. Let me back up. Whoever lives in me and believes in me. So believing in Jesus is maybe the hardest part, or even the easiest part. But that's belief. How do you live in Jesus? How does Jesus live in you? Yes. So you have to obey. You can't. Belief is not belief if you don't also obey. 27. She said to him, "Yes, sir."
I think actually believe there, and I think it's the same as like either believeth and is baptized shall be saved. See there, all you have to do is believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like in the Greek when they use that word believe. I think it's actually an action.
Yes.
It's not just something that you do with your mind. It's something that you have to take action to believe.
Mm-hmm. We seem to cheapen a lot of stuff now. Oh, I believe that. But if you don't do anything to back it up, it doesn't really mean anything.
It's kind of like love. A lot of people can say I love you, but if there's no action with that, is it really true love?
Is it love? Yeah.
Love is an action, not just anybody can say I love you and keep walking by you and you hungry.
Yeah.
Do you really love me?
Yeah. Be filled and then keep on walking. If you didn't do anything, do you care?
Yes, sir.
If your child is like, I'm being good, well then stop doing it. I'm being quiet. I'm being quiet. You're not being quiet. That same thing. Yes. She said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is come into this world." And when she said these things, she went her way and secretly called Mary, her sister, saying, "The teacher has come and is calling for you." As soon as she heard that, she rose quickly and came to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the town. The town was what again? Bethany. So they weren't quite to town yet. So now Jesus had not yet come into the town, but was still in the place where Martha met him. Then the Jews who were with her in the house and comforting her, when they saw that Mary rose up quickly and went out, followed her, saying, "She is going to the tomb to weep there." Okay. So what? What did we talk about earlier? What's the significance of that? When the Jews came to mourn with Mary and Martha. It means the crowd was going where she was going. They were all going, once again, going to be together. So that's going to be very important soon. Verse 32. Down Periscope. Then when Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Sounds familiar. 33. Therefore, when Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who came with her weeping, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. What does that mean? He groaned in the spirit.
Feel compassion.
Yes, it pained him. It hurt his soul. Our study guide brings us out. Jesus cares for us. He is that mediator between us and God, yes. But this especially also shows how much he cared and cares for us. And compare that with the Greek gods and all that of the time, where they were just up there on high and you could curse them and do whatever you wanted to. They didn't care about you.
Also, again, too, today, sometimes we don't know the predicament that people are in or someone is in until you actually see how bad they are hurt. When you see how bad they're hurt, it affects you a little bit because you see what they're going through.
Yeah, because we've established how close that relationship was between them. So, and he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Could someone read verse 35?
Jesus wept.
I believe that's the shortest verse in the Bible. It's just 2 words, but there's a lot said there.
Well, there go again, you know, he cared a lot about them, and it touched him, so, you know, he cried.
Mm-hmm. 36, then the Jews said, see how he loved him. Important because it lets us know several things. We see Jesus' love and compassion. Others saw that too. And we also kind of see that for them to say, see how he loved him, were they paying attention to Jesus then? Mm-hmm. All eyes were on Jesus. And some of them said, could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind also have kept this man from dying? Armchair quarterback. Somebody's got to be like, hey, couldn't if he had done that?
And the answer was yes.
The answer is yes. But something that occurred to me, something that occurred to me, what's maybe even more important than all that, at least they're paying attention now. Right? Before they might not have even been paying attention. At least they're paying attention and they're thinking, they're starting to open their minds to this. 38, then Jesus, again groaning in himself, still hurting, still in pain because of Lazarus' death, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, take away the stone. Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time there is what? Stench. For he has been dead, how many days? 4. It's been a while. He probably smells now. 40. Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? Kind of like he was talking almost to a child there, maybe. I don't know the tone. It's kind of the way I read it, it's like, do you not remember what I told you? Of course she did. Maybe she didn't really believe. She was about to see something. Verse 41, they obeyed when, verse 41, they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said a prayer. What? Someone read that part of 41 through 43, please.
Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I know that you always hear me. But because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me. 43.
Yeah, 43.
Now when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth.
And I know that you, verse 42, and I know that you always hear me. Does God sometimes hear us? You see sometimes there? God, if you see that in movies, God, if you can hear me, God, if you're the... It's not if. You always hear me, but because of the people who are standing by, I said this. So what do we say the purpose of a miracle is? That they may believe that you sent me. Verse 43, when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice. Now, our study guide brings this out. He didn't have to scream with a loud voice to make the miracle work. Why did he say it with a loud voice?
So they all can hear.
The people around him could hear. Verse 44, and he who had died, once again we didn't use his name, right? And he who had died came out, bound hand and foot. So he was wrapped up, right? Wrapped in what? Grave clothes. And his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, loose him and let him go. Quickly, last a few extra verses. Then many of the Jews who had come to Mary had seen the things Jesus did, believed him, but some of them went away to the Pharisees and told them these things Jesus did. When the chief priests and Pharisees gathered a council and said, what shall we do? For this man works many signs. If we let him alone like this, everyone will believe in him. Instead of who? Instead of them.
Instead
Instead of the Pharisees. They're going to start believing. Everybody's going to believe on this guy instead of us. And the Romans will come and take away both our place and nation. Follow the money.
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money. This worldly stuff that the Romans allow us to have, they're going to take it away.
The money and the power.
The money and the power. And one of them, Caiaphas, being the high priest that year, where they take turn, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor..." So we see where Caiaphas basically prophesies what's going to happen. So we see God uses good and bad people alike. God's will is going to be done, no matter what.